Hi everyone, Matt Bisogno here, and it's Monday afternoon, the Monday before Ascot, the night before flat racing Christmas, and I'm a little bit bunged up. In fact, I'm very bunged up, so apologies for what will be something of a nasal uh, Ascot preview. If you can bear the implications of that, then eyes down, looking for a full house. We start tomorrow with tomorrow's extravaganza of awesome Group 1 and otherwise high-class flat racing with the Queen Anne Stakes. That's a Group 1 race over a mile for 4-year-olds plus. There's 7 runners, and it sees what looks ostensibly a match between Camphor Cliffs and Goldie Cover, the fantastic flying French filly, or mare as she is now. The 7 runners include a pacemaker for Goldie Cover in the same ownership and trainership. That's Flash Dance. He's any price for this race. In fact, the current odds have him as a 200 to 1 shot. He's actually got bits and pieces of form in his own right. He's won a listed race and managed to collect over £100,000 in prize money. So obviously his job here is to lead up Goldie and make sure it's not a muddling pace, because there's only the 7 of them, and I'm sure he has the speed and the class to do that. I expect him to lead for maybe 5.5 furlongs before fading. If he does that, it should be a fascinating race in behind. As I've said, the 2 core protagonists are Goldie Cover and Camphor Cliffs, and they're vying for favouritism at around about 6 to 4 each of 2. Camphor Cliffs is obviously a tough, consistent, high-class miler. I've made a note here that he just might not want the juice in the ground. It's been very rainy here, certainly around Hackney Way, and I gather a fair amount of that rain landed down in Ascot as well. And the going has now changed to good to soft. There's quite a few runners that might inconvenience, and Camphor Cliffs just might be one of them. I wonder if all of his form to date seems to be on a sound surface. In fact, yeah, he's never run on anything softer than good. So there's got to be at least a minor reservation regarding that. Goldie Cover, there are no such reservations. She's got plenty of form in France on soft ground, and as you can see from her overall record, which is quite remarkable, with 13 Group 1 victories there. She's won on very soft at Longchamp, good to soft at Deauville, soft at Deauville, good to soft, Longchamp, Deauville, Maison Lafitte, Chantilly. So no such concerns there. And if you look at the horses she's beaten, Cirrus des Aigles is a top class miler in his own right. Gio Ponte is about the best US turf miler. Paco Boy, of course, on more than one occasion. Byword, a great French, probably 10 furlong horse really. These are all top race horses, and they've all been put in their place by the mighty Goldie. In fact, the only one to usurp her in recent times was McPhee, winner of the English 2000 Guineas. The day he won the English 2000 Guineas, he also beat dear old Camphor Cliffs, as you can see there. So on form lines, there's probably very little between the 2. Now, Goldie Cover's a 6-year-old now, and there's got to be at some point she's going to start slowing up. Her trainer Freddie Head is extremely adept at training her for races and placing her well, and he will continue to find the right races for her. The fact that he's prepared to come here to bid for the retention of her Queen Anne Stakes crown suggests he believes that she's still got the speed and the talent to take these on. And my view is he knows a lot better than I do, and the mare will tell us when she can't do it anymore. by dint of the fact that she didn't do it, if that makes sense. Certainly, although she's 6 and she's taken a fair amount of racing, I would expect her to run her race here, and I think she'll be very tough to beat. There aren't really any question marks about her apart from age. Aside from the top 2 in the race, I don't actually think this is a 2-horse race, and I don't necessarily subscribe to the view that Cape Blanco is the only conceivable danger to the pair. In fact, looking down the card, there are a couple of horses that are at least interesting. Let's start with Cape Blanco. He is obviously a high-class horse, winner of the Irish Champion Stakes last year, beating Rip Van Winkle by 5 lengths and more, which was quite impressive. He made all that day. I think he was also close up in the Dubai World Cup, which as it turned out was as advantageous because that was a bit of a sprint finish. Those races were over 1.25 miles, and that is probably his ideal trip. In fact, he hasn't run anything shorter than 1.25 miles since his 2-year-old days. Although he obviously will be running on at the end, I don't think he wants for pace, and I think he'll be okay. I think he's got numbers that make him competitive here. The ground shouldn't be a problem for him. He's got plenty of group winning form as a juvenile on soft. Obviously his trainer Aidan O'Brien knows the time of day, and obviously Cape Blanco has to be respected here. He's not a classic miler, and he's up against classic milers in a really high class race, and that ultimately might prove his undoing. As I say, I expect him to run on, but the birds might have flown by then. The 2 that I thought were quite interesting at bigger prices were firstly Cityscape. Roger Charlton's done quite a good job with this chap. He's improved for his debut run on each of his 3 seasons so far where he's had more than one run. So there's reason to believe that he'll improve for his second to Dick Turpin in the Sandown Mile. And if you look at some bits and pieces of his form, okay, that was only a Group 3 last year in the Joel Stakes at Newmarket, but he was on good to soft ground, and he won by 7 lengths. That's a pretty impressive form. He's got a progressive looking profile about him, and I just think around 20 to 1, I'm not suggesting he can beat both Goldicova and Camford Cliffs. I don't think any of them can beat both of those 2, but it's certainly plausible that one of the top 2 in the betting could fail to run their A race, and if that happens, then exacta or forecast players could be looking to pick up some nice bits and pieces underneath. I would definitely be playing Cityscape underneath Camford Cliffs and Goldicova, trying to get that exacta. The other one that I like at I won't say I like him. The other one I think is interesting underneath is Barry Hills' Ransom Note. Now he's a 66 to 1 shot, right, and that probably reflects his chance of winning the race, because as I say, it's pretty hard to make a case for him beating both Goldicova and Camford Cliffs, but he has got plenty of form at quite a high level, including last year when winning the Britannia Stakes at the Royal Meeting. Now, the Britannia Stakes is obviously a handicap over a mile. This is a Group 1 over a mile. I'm pretty sure the Britannia Stakes is on the straight course as well, whereas this is actually no, this is on the straight course too. So that is maybe in his favour. The thing that stood out about this run, albeit it was on faster ground, it was on good to firm. If you look at the draw of all of the other horses that finished near the front, 31, 29, 23, 32, 15, 17. Ransom Note was drawn 6, so he was drawn on the wrong side, and he was first of 16 in that group. It looks as though the next one in from that group was the 6th place finisher, so he finished fully 4 lengths clear on his side, and that was enough to win the race. It's fair to assume that this performance was probably better than the half-length winning margin that he put up there. Now, it's also true to say that since that run, he's been mainly disappointing, although he did win again over a mile in August at York in a very competitive race. He then had a couple of runs last back end at Newmarket. Didn't cut much ice on the first of them, but won a Group 3 on the second. He might have a preference for quicker ground, but he has won on good to soft here at Goodwood. And I just think at a very big price, he's worth a really small exacta bet to finish second to either Goldacova or Camford Cliffs. Now, obviously, he might run last, and that's a chance I'm prepared to take, because I think the exacta with him second to one of the top two is going to pay about 20 to 1. And one of the top two to win is about a 1 to 4 shot. So really, it's to get 20 to 1 with trying to get him second is probably a value play. The one I haven't mentioned, which I should just touch on, is Rio de la Plata. He's won Group 1s generally in Europe and generally in softer races. It's hard to crab a horse that's won 1, 2, 3 Group 1 races, but I'm going to do that anyway. I think Saïd bin Surour's gone off the boil the last couple of seasons. This guy, he finished third in an Epsom Group 3, and the balance of his UK form doesn't really make him competitive here. At 6 years old, he's not going to improve much, so I'm against him. Again, he might sock it to me. They often do, but my play here is I'd really love to see Goldacova win, and I couldn't bet against her in the win market. I probably won't have a win bet. She's too short in a race of this class, but I hope she wins, and I'll be backing her and Camford Cliffs over Cape Blanco, Cityscape and Ransom Note in exactas. So Camford Cliffs over those three and Goldacova over those three. If Camford and Goldacova both run their races, then I will lose my bet, and that's a chance I'm prepared to take. And that's how I see the 230. So moving on, I promise not to take so much time over the remaining races, or we'll be here all week. The second race of what is a stellar card is the King Stand Stakes. It's a 5 furlong sprint, and there's some real A-listers here. It's a very international race with runners from Ireland, America, France, Hungary. What else have we got? Marcus Klug, I assume he's a German chap. Yeah, he's from Germany. Then you've got the Aussies and more Americans. So it's a really phenomenally international race, and fascinating on that basis. Obviously, they feel they can beat the British and maybe the Irish runners as well. The thing I noted about this race is that there's plenty of them that won't actually want it that soft. Now, I'm kind of speculating how soft it is there, and it may turn out to be a bit quicker than my surmisal. But if it isn't, then there are plenty that will be inconvenienced by the quicker ground, by the slower ground, especially the US two. Bridgetown, who I'm expecting to absolutely blitz from the gate and get out and stay out for as long as he can, and also Holiday for Kitten of Wesley Ward's. Wesley's tend to ping from the gates as well. So they'd be two I'd be against on the ground, but there are, as I say, plenty of others who won't want it soft. One who won't mind is Marta Dentro. He's a 66 to 1 shot, and on the face of it, he's got a lot to do. He's got the tongue tie and the cheek pieces. He's got bits of form that give him a chance. He was third or fourth in the Prix de l'Abbaye on soft ground last year, which is Group 1 at Longchamp on Arc Day. This is probably a tougher race than that, but nevertheless, that sort of level of form gives him a squeak here. Monsieur Chevalier is interesting. Very high class 2-year-old. He missed his 3-year-old season in its entirety and made his first run back towards the end of May. Now, I thought he wasn't really put in the race that day, and they just really wanted to make sure he still had a leg in each corner. I expect him to improve markedly on that, and on ground that's fine for him. He won a 20-runner Newbury sprint over 5 furlongs as a 2-year-old. He could run a nice race. He's a 33 to 1 shot, and he could run a nice race. Overdose is one that has been mentioned many times in dispatches for his phenomenal win record. He's won 15 of 17 races. I think it's notable that when he's faced really top class runners, he's fallen short, and also most of his wins have been in small fields, with the exception of that run at the Capanelli in Italy. He won't mind it soft, that's true enough, but I do just feel that he maybe has a class ceiling that was hidden by the fact that he was racing against weaker opposition. Not for me. Prohibit is reasonably interesting. I mean, he's only a 16 to 1 shot, which is short enough in my view. He's a horse that doesn't win that often, especially not in stakes company, but he places very often, including recently. He's second in a Group 2 at Chantilly over 5 on soft, third behind Soul Power in a Group 2 at Haydock, fourth in a Group 3 at Longchamp. He's got plenty of placed form that gives him a squeak of hitting the board. If you were playing tricast or trifectas, you probably wouldn't want to leave him out underneath, but I can't have him winning the. But ultimately, he's not for me. Obviously, Soul Power is one of the favourites, and if the ground had remained good, I would have given him a real chance here. He's definitely an improving 4-year-old. He won the Haydock sprint on merit, and really looks to be a 5 furlong runner going places. Had a lot of these behind that day, but I just the ground is a worry for me with him. He's all of his winning has come on either standard or weather to going, which equates pretty much to good to firm or good to firm, and on the soft side of good is not really what Soul Power wants. So he'd be one I'd be against this time, even though I backed him, and I know many of you did last time when I put him up for the Temple Stakes. Star Witness is a favourite. I was told by the London Racing Club last week that this one would shorten. I shared that on the blog. I hope some of you got the 8 to 1. He's 4 to 1 now. Doesn't really represent value to me. He's drawn 18 of 19, and against a rail should be fine. So I think he's got a good draw, and he won't mind the ground either. If he's as good as he was when he chased home Black Caviar, they won't see which way he went, and he will win. That is a significant enough if for my tastes, and I didn't actually back him at 8 to 1, which was ridiculous. I really should have. As a consequence of that, I can't now back him at 4 to 1. So I think at 8 to 1 he was value, and you could take the chance that he would return to his former glory. At half that price, I don't think there's enough scope in that that price. Tangerine Trees is an interesting one. He was progressive before his run last time out. He goes on the good to soft, no problem, and I think he's probably better than he showed last time. Although he's a 6-year-old now, and obviously not getting any younger, which of us are, he's worth another try at this grade, I think. Again, 20 to 1 is a sort of price that allows some scope for underperformance, let's say. Of the rest, War Artist is easy for me to avoid. He's a 6 furlong specialist. He wants better ground, and he's 8 years old, so he's probably too old. Apart from that, he's got every chance. Astrophysical Jet, not for me, although he's bound to show more than he did first time out. Rose Blossom wants it faster. Sweet Sonnet could be interesting, another Aussie horse. The Aussie horses do tend to run well here. I couldn't have a seasonal debutant, so I'm against Swiss Diva, although she is a good enough sort. Stoner Folker, I mean she's run well here previously. He's run well here previously, but I couldn't have him in this race. And I talked about Holiday for Kitten already. So overall, because I've missed the price on Star Witness, and I don't really like Soul Power, I'm going to take 2 at big prices against the field, and see how, they're speculative wagers. I'm actually going to take 3 against the field. I've backed Arctic already. Arctic is a horse that must have it on the soft side. You can see from his career wins. He has won on the good, but his 2 higher class wins were on heavy ground. That he probably just outclassed them there on his debut. Since then, he's run on good to firm and been beaten twice. This run in the Prix de l'Abbaye when he was 5th gives him a real good chance in this race. He was obviously disappointing the run after that. Might have been over the top. Things may have gone against him, but he's certainly got pieces of form, including his 5th in the Abbaye and previous heavy ground form, that means that 50 to 1 is worth taking a punt at for very small money. The other 2 I like are Monsieur Chevalier, who will definitely run better than he did last time. I think the certain fast pace here will play to his strengths. He'll run on through a lot of beaten horses, and 33 to 1 again offers some value of him at least making the frame. And the third one that I take in expectation that he'll run better than last time is Tangerine Trees. I think on the slightly softer ground he could improve as well. So those are my 3 against the field at any price in the King's Stand. The third race, the St James's Palace, is something of a slightly more straightforward event for us pundits. Frankel is obviously long odds on to extend his winning sequence to 7, and who would bet against him? He's won by 13 lengths, 10 lengths, 2 1/4, 4 lengths, 6 lengths, and he showed no signs of letting up. He has won on good to soft over course and distance around on the round course here by 10 lengths. Really, on all no form, there isn't a reason on earth that you would bet against Frankel in this race. There are 9 runners, which gives us some each way value to go at. So I'll just have a quickly run through a few of these from an each way perspective. The first one is Dream Ahead. Now, he was a very high class 2-year-old. He was actually joint top rated 2-year-old with Frankel last year. Excuse me. He did blot his copybook in I think it was in the Dewhurst when stuffed by Frankel and most of the rest of the field as well. It was in the Dewhurst, yeah. And he's probably got something to prove. I mean, first run as a 3-year-old, it may be that he hasn't trained on. firstly, I wouldn't be betting against Frankel anyway, but I'd be looking for an exacta or an each way bet. I wouldn't take Dream Ahead because I'd want to see evidence that he's the same horse this season, or indeed a better horse than he was last year. If he can show that and knock my bet over as a consequence, then that's that I'm prepared to take that risk. Dubai Gold has really improved a lot, and I won't say he's unlucky to be a dual 2,000 guineas runner-up, because he's not. But that does make him a high-class animal. I think his price is about fair at around 14 to 1. He's got no real chance of reversing the form with Frankel, and on balance, I think there are others who might offer a bit more value. One of those others is Celebration. Now, this chap was second to Frankel in the Greenham, beaten 4 lengths that day. He then ran on the softer ground for the first time in his career in the German 2,000 guineas, obviously a much weaker race than the English, Irish or French. Nevertheless, he slaughtered the opposition there by 7 lengths. Winning a guineas by 7 lengths is impressive wherever you do it, and it's just possible that the softer ground here might play more to his strengths than to Frankel's. No, maybe not to the point where he can reverse the form, but potentially where he can get a bit closer to Frankel than the 4 lengths he was beaten by in the Greenham. He I see as one of the key dangers. Grand Prix Boss is a Japanese horse. On all known form, he's here for a day out for his owners. I think he should be a bigger price than 18 to 1. He doesn't interest me at all, if I'm frank. All of his form's on firm ground. None of it. He doesn't have a single piece of form that puts him within 20 lengths of Frankel and within sort of 5 or 6 lengths of 3 or 4 of the others. So Grand Prix, he might surprise me, but I can't have him. Can't have a bar of him. Nibras is well, he's a Godolphin horse at 100 to 1. That probably tells you all you need to know. He was well beaten by a horse of Sir Michael Stout's last time. He had won in facile fashion in a small field at Newmarket before that, but those lines of form give him a ton to find here, and 100 to 1 might offer a fraction of value, but only in the context that he maybe should only be 50 or 66 to 1. Whichever way you look at it, he's a big priced outsider. Rerouted, I guess, is a pacemaker for Frankel if he can get out in front of him. It's a big if. The bottom two, I don't really like Zoffany that much. He was pretty good as a 2-year-old. I'm not sure he's as good as these as a 3-year-old. And again, Aidan O'Brien knows the time of day. He's had plenty of success in this race in the past, and it wouldn't be the biggest shock in the world if Zoffany served it up to Frankel, or at least made the frame. The one that I do like, and I'm prepared to take a chance on, is Richard Fahey's Wootton Bassett. He was a highly progressive 2-year-old, showed a lot of really good form. His first run this season, he was arguably a bit disappointing when only 5th in a big field in the French 2,000 guineas, but he wasn't beaten far that day, and he had a nightmare draw. Probably used up quite a lot of energy getting across to the rail. He was lit up by then as well, so went on. I'm sure he'll come on for the run. I'm sure the smaller field and the likely cover he'll get from pacemakers, or maybe Frankel zooming off in front, means he's got a much better chance. And I think the two I'd like to take in second place behind Frankel would be Celebration and Wootton Bassett. So that's how I will play the race. Frankel to win, hardly a big surprise there, and Celebration and Wootton Bassett in the places. Most of all, I'm looking forward to a real superstar, and one thing that I haven't actually mentioned yet, which I've just noticed for the first time now, actually, is if you look at Frankel's trainer here, we have Sir Henry Cecil. How amazing is that? Regular readers will know I've been referring to him as Sir in apostrophes for a very long time. Well, now he's a legitimate knight of the realm, and I mean, I don't know how meritorious a knighthood for somebody who trains racehorses is, but if any racehorse trainer in the current ranks deserves such recognition and respect, then it must be Sir Henry. Good on him, and I really hope that Frankel does the bizzo so that he can have what would be his 73rd Royal Ascot winner. Marvellous stuff. Okay, eulogising over, we must move on, and we must move on apace. I've covered the first three races from a form perspective as best I can. Form doesn't really help us too much in a race like the Coventry, because you can pretty much be sure that almost every runner is going to improve on what they've done so far. So you need to take a bit more of a sideways glance at it, and I'll use some trends for that to help me pare down what is a typically big field for this race. So the notes I've made in that regard are, firstly, the market is generally a very good guide. In fact, in the last 14 years, only Aidan O'Brien has had a winner at a bigger price than 8-1, and he's managed to do that twice. His sole runner here is called Power, Soul Power, and he's a 5-1 shot. Got a good chance as well, I think. Last time out, winners have been responsible for 36 of the 42 win and place positions in that time. So it doesn't pay to get too cute here, I don't think. Interestingly enough, if you just blindly backed all horses at 8-1 or shorter, you'd have made a profit of just over 11 points. I'm not advocating that as an approach here, although some of you might want to go with it. All of the last 14 winners had a break of at least 3 weeks since their last run, which knocks out quite a few of the fancied horses. And all bar one of the last 14 had either 1 or 2 previous starts. If we use those as refining criteria or shortlisting criteria, we end up with, ignoring the market, we end up with Brocklebank, Commissar, Gatepost, Jack Who's He, North Star Boy, Power, St Bart's, Trumpet Major. It wouldn't surprise me if any of those won the race. They've all got plenty more to come for sure. The two that really fit the bill are Power and Gatepost, and I have to say that I've bet against Gatepost on both his runs so far, and I've been really impressed with the way he's won his races. He's still green. He was still green as grass at York last time when running away from Hamza and the rest in a good time. Shannon's pretty adept at training 2-year-olds. He'll get a nice toe here from the likes of Italo and others. And while 7-1 isn't a massive price, I think it's a pretty reasonable price in a race where there's plenty who will be outpaced with 2 furlongs to go. It's hard for me to see Gatepost out of the first 3 or 4, and I think Shannon's got a pretty decent horse on his hands there. So Gatepost is going to be my selection here. He travels really well in his races and he quickens up, still changing his legs and stuff late in his races because he's not really very experienced, so he's definitely going to improve. As I say, they pretty much all will. Of the rest, Power is a danger. Commissar has changed hands since his 5-length win last time at Newmarket. Fulbright's quite interesting, doesn't fit the trends, but he's got some good looking form. and the other one I wanted to mention was yes, Italo, Wesley Ward's. I think I don't think he's got the credit he deserves as Wesley. He's come here, and most of his horses have run really creditably. And all right, he's a wide boy. I don't know if he's a Texan, but he sounds like one. He's certainly your archetypal exuberant American, and he's a pretty shrewd judge as well. His horses have been winning left, right, and centre in France. He did bring over one that won at Folkestone, and it'd be interesting to see how his mob run. They are certainly respected by me. Okay, ultimately though, it's going to be gatepost in the Coventry. We move on to the 5 o'clock, which is the Ascot Stakes. This is a 20 runner, 2.5 mile handicap. Obviously there's any number of them with a chance. They bet about 5 to 1 the field, I think. I've come down firmly in favour of one. I've used trends here again. You want something that was in the first 4 last time. You want something in the top 10 in the betting. Not that especially helps. Officially rated 82 to 88 seems to be where most of the winners have come from. 8 to 60 days since a run, and having had somewhere between 5 and 7 or 8 runs in the last 365 days. That's either flat or jumps. If I sort them by official rating, you can see I'm only looking at the bottom half dozen here, and the one that I really like is Veiled. She fits the profile perfectly. She's been highly progressive. She's won 3 of her last 4 starts since March, including a listed handicap hurdle at Cheltenham over 2 miles 6, so the trip should have no problems for her. She won readily enough going away as well last time over 1 mile and 6 at Newmarket, so the longer trip's not going to be a problem. The ground's going to be fine. She's progressive. She's got a lightweight. Kieran Fallon's doing the steering. Nicky Henderson trains. 5-year-old is about the right age for this. Basically, she's got a bomb-proof profile, and around 5 to 1 is not a massive price in a race like this. But with so many ticks in boxes, I wouldn't bet her each way. I'd just bet to win, I think. Basically, on the first day of Ascot, if you're not up by now, unless you've got a strong view in the last couple of races, shouldn't be betting too heavily, I don't think. I'll have depending on how the day's gone, I'll be there tomorrow, so I'll have a reasonable bet on Veiled. If the day's going bad, I'll probably have a smaller bet on her. Win only, I think. So she'll obviously get short-headed and finish second. And we round out day 1 of Royal Ascot with the Windsor Castle Stakes, one of the lesser races on the card. It's a listed race for 2-year-olds over 5 furlongs. There's a whopping 27 runners, and again, obviously we can expect horses to demonstrate ability above and beyond what they've so far achieved. The better horses that might have contested this would run in other races generally, mainly the Queen Mary or the Coventry Stakes. The first thing to point out is the fillies are 0 from 25 in the last 12 or so years, and on that basis, I'm overlooking numbers 22 to 27. They just seem to be up against it in this race. Although there have been winners at 20s, 33s and 100 to 1 in the last 5 years, most of the winners come from the top 6 in the betting, so it's kind of the trends aren't particularly strong in this race. 11 of the winners were first or second last time out. They pretty much all run between 8 and 30 days ago, and the vast majority of winners in recent times have had 1 or 2 previous runs. Again, that still leaves quite a few with a chance. Excuse me, my voice is about to give up on me. It's a wide open race, and it probably won't pay to go with something too short in the betting, or at least, you know, in a race like this, I like to speculate somewhat. So that's what I'm going to do. I think Wesley Ward's Gentleman's Code is interesting. He beat another runner here, bare behind, at Folkestone in a 3-horse race, first time in the UK. He's gonna go off lickety split and try and stay out there. Whether he can or not is another question. I just thought I'd take a punt on a couple at really big prices, or what I expect to be really big prices. They're both maidens, and maidens have won this race, although not that recently, in fairness. Flashman's Paper won as a 100-to-1 shot. I think he'd finished third on both his starts to date. I think he might have been trained by John Best as well, and his Bayleaf is the one I'm going at here. He's finished he finished second to Gatepost on debut. He was staying on there, and he finished third over course and distance here to North Star Boy, who runs in the Coventry. Again, not beaten far, and in a race where it could well be, it could be wide open. I think I haven't seen any prices on this race yet, but I wonder if you just might get sort of 40-to-1 on this chap, and that would be interesting for small money. The other one I'm going to go with is Spring in My Step for Michael Dodds, Tom Queally, and Andrew Tinkler. Obviously, it's a pretty speculative one. He's bound to improve for his debut run. He's going to have to improve a ton, really, but for very small stakes, he could run quite well. And the last horse I'm going to mention here is Hamza, who I've been following and backing to my cost in his last couple of races. He won a nice race on debut, the form of which worked out pretty well. He was then second to Gatepost, and third, not beaten far, in the Brian Yeardley, the big 2-year-old race at Beverley as well. The form of those races is pretty good in the context of this. He wouldn't have as much improvement as some of the others, but he brings a decent level of form to the race, so I'll probably end up being suckered into having another bet on him. There are horses with ostensibly better form, notably Frederick Engels, but as I say, I'm prepared to take a punt on a couple here at bigger prices. That's my lot for day one of the Royal Meeting. I'm going to be there tomorrow. Hopefully I'm feeling a little bit better. I've been a bit under the weather the last few days. I'm really looking forward to an awesome day's sport. The first four races are exceptional. The rest of the card, the other two, are very interesting. It should be a cracking day's sport. I will be back with some more thoughts, probably tomorrow night, and that will be on day two of the meeting. But for now, I wish you the very best of luck with your day one wagers, and if there's anything you particularly like, if you've got a banker for the meeting, then do leave a comment down there, and share your fancy with the rest of us. Alright, thanks a lot for hanging in there and listening to me for the last 40 odd minutes, and bye for now.